Hello, happy Halloween. I'm filming this on Halloween. Please, won't you make yourselves comfortable? How do people start these videos? I feel weird. I'm filming this tonight because I put makeup on. I don't do that every day. And I've been wanting to make a video with my face in it. Do I seem uncomfortable? I have stuff I want to talk about. And I'm going to pull this notebook over here because it's going to help me remember what I'm talking about. Alright. I made this video because I thought perhaps people might want some other options beyond BookTok, specifically Romantasy BookTok, and not as a statement of judgment. I don't know a ton about Romantasy. I think I've read maybe a little bit. I think I've read like the first two of The Court and Thorn and Roses, maybe some other ones. I'm not really sure what qualifies. My understanding is heavy on the romance, lots of spice levels, of which categories, listen, I'm not an expert. It's kind of like it's all over BookTok, and from my impression of somebody who loves books, enjoys consuming book type media, it's kind of all the same stuff. None of it's ever really spoken to me, not judging those who has, but maybe if you feel the same or you've read the BookTok stuff and the Romantasy, you're like, hey, I'd like to read something a little different. I would like to present to you fantasy with romance, not romantasy, fantasy with romance. And what that means to me, in my professional opinion, is something that is fantasy with a clear romantic plot. It is an important part of the story. Maybe not so much as Romantasy has it, but it's definitely a defining factor because those are the stories I loved. I consumed them a lot in my young adulthood. I still love them to this day. The other category for this, for me, not so much to do with the Romantasy part, books I don't hear people talk about very much. Some of these I've never heard another human being mention, and some of these I've heard sporadically, but very rarely. So I thought, why not? Why not give my recommendation? What's the other point here? Oh, there's gonna be some repeat authors. Two ladies, women in particular, feature heavily on this list. I just love them. They write great books. I think they fit really well into this fantasy romance category. Yeah, let's just get into it. Got like, I don't know, 13-ish, I didn't count, books. So just get into it. First, maybe perhaps my all-time favorite book, although definitely young adult, I'm going to present you with this book called Sabriel by Garth Nix. And here is my copy, my original copy, from when I was about 14 probably. She's love taped. We don't read this one anymore. We just look at it, we admire it. We love this original, well, what's left of the art. My sister bought me the entire box set because this is a series, although we'll get into that. And look how beautiful this is. Alright, what is this guy about? This is about Sabriel. She is just graduating from an all-girls college across something called the Wall, far away from the kingdom where she was born and where her father currently is. And she was sent there, and she's been at this like girls preparatory, academy for most of her life. She does study magic there and fencing and stuff, but she doesn't, and she knows that her dad's involved in necromancy, but like not in a bad way. He puts the dead down. He puts the dead to sleep. But she doesn't really understand the world that they come from, called the Old Kingdom. So when her dad goes missing, it's up to her to go and figure out what happened. Reveals this whole history and her part in it and her dad. It's fantastic. Garth Nix is great. The world building is wonderful. The magic system's wonderful. The romance in it is very sweet. And it's got, action and mystery and all kinds of stuff. I love this book. It is so good. Everybody should read it. It is a series. I think there's 4 main books and maybe 2 novellas or whatever, and I'll get into one of them, which I recommend. But in the category of fantasy with romance, Sabriel is by far the best one in that category, and my favorite book of the series. Honorable-ish mention, fantasy without romance, is the second book, Lariel. If you love like a mystical library, you would love Lariel. I think it might be the best version of it. And I know, for people who love the magical library, that's a bold statement, but it's a really good one. You should read Lariel too, but Sabriel, great. The less honorable mention, I'm gonna recommend it as a fantasy with romance, is a prequel, Terciel and Elinor. This is a newer one. Sabriel's been out forever. Look at this cover, it's so nice. This is about her dad and her mom, Sabriel, that is. And it's their story, and it's a sweet romance. It gives a lot of backstory. These would be great to read together, actually, because obviously I read these like 20 years apart or something. Great little romance in it, really good story. Read these. Read them. Read them. Oh, don't. No. Okay. Alright, next we have Daughter of the Forest. I recommend this to everyone. I've seen a bit of discussion about this on the internet. I think it's well loved, but it's not like big, right? It's definitely not on BookTok. But yeah, Daughter of the Forest. I don't know if this is my original copy. I think the Seven Waters series has 6 books, not 7, 6. But the original set was a trilogy. Daughter of the Forest is my favorite. Also, this is written by Juliet Marillier. I have no idea if I'm pronouncing that right. She does fantastic folklore. She just has a very lyrical writing style. She has a very, yeah, it just feels like you're reading myth. It's beautiful. This one is based on, it's like the Seven Swans. It's based on a myth. It's about a girl. She has 6 older brothers. She is the 7th child. Everybody wanted her to be a boy because she would have fulfilled this prophecy or whatever, but she didn't. She was a girl. And it's about her and her brothers, who are all very close, and their father marries this sorceress or whatever, and they are, her brothers are cursed and they turn into swans, and only she can save them by fulfilling a task, which I won't get into a whole lot, but one of the things is just she can't speak until that task is done. If she speaks, brothers are swans forever. So it sends her on this crazy journey. It has a beautiful love story in it. There are some trigger warnings, like pretty heavy ones, specifically about one part, so you should look into that. I love this book. Like, changed my brain chemistry as a teen. I love this novel. I still read it, once a year, but very often. And the whole trilogy is great, and then the rest of the books are great. And what's great about them, if you like fantasy with romance, Romantasy, is all of them feature romance, but not in such an overpowering way as like it compromises the writing. It's a very integral, beautiful part of her storytelling, and I highly recommend it. Next, we have Robin McKinley. That's the author, not the name of the book. We're going to talk about several of her books. We're going to start with some famous young adult ones that you may or may not have heard of. I can't find my original copy, but apparently I got a used copy in a very old cover. But it's The Hero and the Crown. This is a great book. Wonderful fantasy building, fantastic characters. Robin McKinley, like Juliet, Marillier, is very lyrical in her writing. She tells great folklore, which we'll get into. She loves a fairy tale retelling. But Hero and the Crown is about a princess, unwanted, like, because she doesn't have magical powers, and that just kind of sets her apart. She's like very ostracized. She's the only child of the king, who loves her but doesn't really know what to do with her, and she becomes a dragon slayer. And it takes her on this crazy journey where she meets like a mentor, because she ends up, I'm not gonna write it for you, but she has a mentor. There's some love triangles. There's a giant evil thing she has to kill, and it's just really great. I liked the romance in it. It was the love triangle is one of the few that I could ever tolerate, and I think it's really well done, and I liked it a lot. So you should read The Hero and the Crown. And then, sort of as an honorable mention, although I think it's also very good, is the sequel called The Blue Sword, which is the original copy I've had since I was a teen. This one is a sequel in the way that it's like hundreds of years after the first one, but it involves like the country that the original book has involved, some of the relics, and it's like sort of ties it all together. But it's a really great story about a girl who, has to travel far away from her family. She gets abducted. They have to solve some mysteries together. Also romance. And it kind of ties some of the magic and stuff from the first book together. Also a great book. If I had to pick one, I would pick The Hero and the Crown, but both are great. All right, now we're into the part where I don't have books to show you. Mostly because I'm positive my sister stole my copies. All right. Also by Juliet, Marillier, Heart's Blood. I'm sure I can edit this to put it right in my hand. It's kind of like a Beauty and the Beast retelling, maybe is the best way to put it. But it's a girl who desperately needs some money, so she agrees to work at a haunted mansion being a scribe. And she goes up to this haunted mansion, and it's full of very charming ghosts, but it's owned by a man who's very haunted and kind of gruff. And it's unraveling the mystery of what's made him this way, of the ghosts. There's a murder mystery. It's one of those like love heals all kind of stories, but it's really lovely. I like it a lot. It's a standalone book in the same way that Juliet Marillier wrote Out of the Forest. Again, that mythical, very lyrical writing. But yeah, love that book. Highly recommend. Now we can jump back to Robin McKinley. Maybe I should have organized these by authors. Nope, just by vibes. Sunshine by Robin McKinley. This is pre-Twilight vampires, post-Dracula. Pre-Twilight vampires. Cafe core, before that was a thing. Our main character, she works in a bakery. It's like in a world that's, I call it 1990s America. And she works in a bakery, and like magic and vampires. She has like, I think, a history of magic, but she's not really like a practitioner of it. It just kind of exists like latently in the world. But bad stuff happens, and like there's a government thing involved in trying to suppress it. But vampires are around. You have to be careful going to certain places. So she goes somewhere, she does something kind of dumb. She goes to like a cabin by the lake. She gets kidnapped and gets put into a precarious position with a vampire who ends up becoming her friend. And together, they band together to take down worse vampires. And it's got interesting themes of romance in it. It's kind of got a love triangle. I don't know. I think it's beautiful. It's not super heavy on the romance, but it's there, and you're kind of gunning for it. Is that what I want to say? You're like, will they, won't they the whole time. But it's great. Highly recommend Sunshine. It's another like comfort read of mine. All right, so I think I mentioned previously My girl McKinley loves a fairy tale retelling. She does a lot of them. She has just like mentioned some that are not the ones I'm recommending. I recommend all of them. Okay, she does, I think it's called Outlaws of Sherwood, which is like a Robin Hood retelling. She does Spindle's End, which is a Sleeping Beauty retelling. Not of the Anne Rice variety for those who are in the know. If you know, then you know. But what I'd like to recommend to you is a book called Beauty, which is a Beauty and the Beast retell with an immediate caveat that she has written two Beauty and the Beast retellings. There's one called Beauty, and I'm going to categorize these by Beauty, where the prince is human at the end, and Rose Daughter, where the prince stays a beast. So, you know, romantasy trends, you know, the beast stuff. It was there. McKinley's been on it. They're both beautiful. I like them both a lot. I think I prefer Prince, not Beast. So I'm going to talk about Beauty. But yeah, it's a Beauty and the Beast retelling. Like I said, very lyrical writing. Has to break a curse. You know, it's a lot about family bonds. So she has sisters who are they become destitute with their dad, and they have to like make it out in the world, and she kind of gets kidnapped. The whole thing. Great writing. Beautiful book. Great romance. That's Beauty. But also read Rose Daughter. And also read Spindle's End. And just read all of Robin McKinley. I can hold up a book this time. Hold on. All right. Okay. So this is where I recommend a book that is later in a trilogy, but like the whole trilogy. All right, hold on. I got a lot on my map. All right, it's like really late, you guys. You just gotta film when you can film, and that tends to be when I should be asleep. I think this series is called The Queen's Thief. All right, this is the first book. This is famous, but I don't hear people talk about it a ton, and this is one of my favorite series. Two of the books in it, there's like 5 of them. Two of them, love them, reread them all the time. But the first one is called The Thief, and it is about a young man named Eugenides, but they call him Jen, and he is like a sanctioned thief for a kingdom, and it's like set in ancient Greece kind of vibes, like Mediterranean. And there are these like coastal cities. His kingdom and another kingdom, Attolia, have been at war forever. It's like brewing. There's all this contempt, but there's like a bigger power elsewhere that's kind of wanting to get involved. Political intrigue is a big part of this, but he goes around stealing stuff. But he is in love with the Queen of Attolia and has been forever. So it's about like how he is trying to secure his family. He's kind of set apart because he's this sanctioned, like literally God's blessed thief. I'm explaining this terribly, but it's one of those, if you over explain it, it just like ruins it. Okay, so the thief, not my, like, listen, it's great, but in terms of fantasy with romance, it's not the one. All right, Queen of Attolia, fantastic book. Maybe some trigger warnings. It's like the second set, you start to get more into the romance. When I say these people go from like enemies to lovers, anyone who's read these, like enemies to lovers. And then we get to my favorite, which you can tell by what it looks like, The King of Attolia. So, alright, let me really talk about how great these books are. Like, what am I even doing? Maitland Whalen Turner is a fantastic writer. Jen is one of the best characters I've ever read. He's witty, he's smart, he's so funny. He's obnoxious. He like never does what you want him to do. He's just like, I laugh out loud at these books. They always like every time I read it, I'm like, oh, that's so funny. Like, you just love it. One of the things I really like about the books is she kind of tells a lot of them from perspective of like an outsider looking in. So this one is told from the perspective of an Aetolian soldier named Costis, who is watching the new king of Attolia. This is like a huge spoiler, I guess, but whatever. They're watching Jen and seeing his relationship with the queen and observing it, and like it's an unreliable narrator, right? Because he doesn't have the ends. But there's something so pleasing about that to me in terms of like their romantic relationship and what Jen is like. I don't know. It's just such a great book. Like the ending, so satisfying. Super recommend The King of Attolia. I don't have my second favorite book in the series, The Return of the Thief, which is the final book in, again, I think it's 6 books, 7, like haven't read all of them. I don't love like a couple of them, but these ones, great. Return of the Thief is like the climactic conclusion. It is also told from another perspective. It is told from the perspective of a disabled young man who has been sort of abused by his very powerful family and is now like very cruelly thrown into the political fray. And it's like he's almost like writing a biography later, like looking back about the events. Again, the main characters are Jen and the Queen of Attolia, his wife, I think her name is Irene, yes, and you know all the other players, and like kind of how that concludes. And I just love it. The romance is really sweet. Again, Jen is so funny. She's just such a witty writer. Her characters are great. The world building and the gods, it's just very fun. Turn of the Thief is a wonderful conclusion. I found it very satisfying, and you should read it. Spoiler alert, no spoiler alert, full disclosure, have not read these in a long time. But as I was looking for inspiration, I was like, oh my god, I loved those and their romance, and like I'm going to reread them. Let's read them together. It's called the Paper Magician series. Never heard another human being mention these, but they're great. And there's 3 of them, and it's about set in Victorian England. Magic is a thing, but it's very regulated by the government. Seemed weird to say the monarchy. Anyway, everybody is like kind of assigned to a material. So she's a paper magician, and they're very like regulated. You have to pass tests, all kinds of stuff. She's assigned to a very prestigious magician for her mentorship, and it's like I don't want to give too much away, but eventually that becomes a romance. It's a 3-book series. The magic I think is great. The world building is great. The bad guys are great. You really root for her. You really root for him. And it's a really sweet love story, and you should read it. And I want to reread it because I want to remember it better. Let's read it together. We're pulling through this, guys. All right. I don't know that I've ever owned this one, like physically. It is called Half the World by Joe Abercrombie. I believe it is technically a sequel to Half a King, which I believe I have read. I don't remember it very well. I think I liked it. Before that turns you off too much, I don't actually think you need to read it. I think it provides some like world context, but it's about completely different characters. And like I honestly believe you could read this as a standalone, and it's worth it. All right, so Half the World. For those of you who are familiar with Joe Abercrombie, he's like a very great art. He's a great author. His characters are fantastic, and they're really good in this too. I think this is considered young adult. All right, so it's about a girl. It's a girl with a sword. One of the tangent. Excuse me, I would like to go on a tangent briefly. One of the issues I have with Romantasy, the little bit I've seen, is sort of tends to be like girl with the sword, She isn't my favorite trope. However, girl with the sword in this is perfect. It's done so good. She is so gruff. I want to say gross, because there are some parts where she's just like, I don't know, she just doesn't care, and it's great. What did I put? What did I write? She's crass, rough, and abrasive, but you're like rooting for her the whole time. Like, she's great. You just want her to succeed, and like she's very much got like everything set against her. I'm not describing this well at all. All right, hold on, let's backtrack. There's this girl. She has been training to fight for a long time, and she wants to be a Viking warrior. And she goes to take the test, kicks everyone's ass, but she kind of fails, and she has to go on this big mission where she learns to fight even betterer. And the kid that she beats is forced to come with her. So this is enemies to lovers, right? Enemies to lovers. You're into your tropes, which I have feelings about, but listen, I'm gonna tap into it because that's basically what this is. She goes on this big voyage. She has to go on this big mission. She's learning to fight from this lady. She's grumpy the whole time. This dude who hated her is slowly falling in love with her. They have a really cool romance. Fight scenes are great. The action's great. The climax is great. Just a really wonderful story, and you should read it. The characters are fantastic in true Joe Abercrombie way. And I've also never heard anybody talk about that series. I hear a lot about Joe Abercrombie, not about that. Here is another series that I would almost think I had hallucinated if I didn't still own them, because I've never heard anyone talk about them. It is called The Sword, the Ring, and the Chalice. I have not read these in quite a long time, but I loved them when I was younger. I think the reason I haven't read them in a while is because I was missing one of the books. I think I was missing the third one. That would make sense. I was missing the first one, so I had the second and the third. I can't reread this without the first one. Found it semi-recently used. I'm going to read the back to you. Trapped in a world that is neither life nor death, the great king watches and waits. He sees the half-elven boy, Dane, earn his place at the court of the crown prince Gavril, enmity of Gavril, whose heart is poisoned by dark magic. He sees the girl, Alexica, rally the followers of her father when the old rebel leader dies on the battlefield. He sees the evil that threatens his kingdom drawing ever nearer, and he knows that only these 2 people, Dane and Alexica, can fulfill the prophecy that will save the land. I don't know that that tells you very much. But basically, a king dies. His son goes into like a neighboring kingdom in hiding. It's very much prince in disguise. I don't know. I love that part of it, right? Like, he's just the underdog. But you know that he isn't. He's just kind of like abused by this Gavril kid, and you're just like, haha, wait till you find out that this guy's a king of his own country. And it's great. It's just like a coming of age. It's got magic. It's got world building. It's got politics. It's got love triangles. For sure slow burn because it's over 3 books. But yeah, another one we could read together, guys. The Sword, the Ring, and the Chalice. I've never heard another human being talk about these books. I guess she is the best-selling author of Lucasfilm's Alien Chronicles trilogy. Have you guys ever read that? I have not. Shout out to anyone who's read Lucasfilm's Alien Chronicles trilogy. Did I even say who these are by? These are by Deborah Chester. That was sort of my last like bonus one. The romance isn't crazy heavy, but I don't know. I think it's so worth it. Alright guys, that's the end. I did it. Those are all my niche fantasy with romance recommendations. If you've read any of these, like, let me know. I don't know that I've met anyone who's read any of these. And if you are inspired to read any of them, let me know. If you hate them, like, don't talk to me. Just kidding. But like, Let me know if you read them. Let me know what you think. See you next time.